The Arizona desert was a graveyard for good men and lost dreams. For Lily Cross, a widow with 2 children and a failing ranch, it felt like the tomb she was already living in. She was a dust storm away from losing everything. Then one day when the sky seemed to fall apart, she found a man buried in the mud. He was dying. He was Apache. Saving him meant a death sentence. The local cattle baron, Cole West, wanted her land, and the sheriff was in his pocket. But Lily didn't know the man she pulled from the dirt wasn't just a victim. He was a hunter, and he held a secret that could either get them all killed or change their lives forever. The wind in the Arizona territory didn't just howl. It lied. It whispered of coolness when there was only heat, of rain when there was only dust. For Lily Cross, the wind was just another mouth to feed, another thief trying to steal the little she had left. Her ranch, the Dry Spur, was a cruel joke named by her late husband, Elias Cross. Elias had been a man full of hope and bad investments. 6 months ago, he'd been found at the bottom of a dry canyon, trampled by what Sheriff Hank Carter had called a freak stampede. Lily was left with 16-year-old Eli Boone, 10-year-old Daisy Boone, 100 acres of cracked earth, and a mortgage held by a man who collected souls instead of dollars. Cole West. Cole West, the owner of the sprawling Cross Sea Bar Ranch, was a patient vulture. He owned the entire valley, except for Lily's small plot, which held the one thing West's empire craved, the last bend of Coyote Creek, a sliver of water more precious than gold. This particular Tuesday began with the sky turning a sickly yellow. A blue norther was coming, a wall of dust and fury. "Eli, get the last of the herd in the small corral," Lily shouted, her voice swallowed by the wind. She tied her bonnet tighter, her face already a mask of grit. "What's the point, Ma?" Eli kicked at the porch post. He was tall for his age, all sharp angles and simmering rage. Since Elias's death, he had become a thundercloud of his own. "There's hardly enough of 'em left to call a herd, and West's men will just run 'em off again." "We are not giving up, Eli, not today." Lily's voice rang with a steel she didn't feel in her hands. They fought the storm for an hour, the world reduced to a swirling brown nightmare. The air was thick with sand, making it hard to breathe. One of their last 3 cows, a bony creature with haunted eyes, broke free from the flimsy fence and bolted toward the creek bed. "I'll get her," Eli yelled, pulling his hat low and running into the gloom. "Eli, no, it's not worth it." But he was gone. Lily cursed a word she'd never used when Elias was alive and ran after him. She found him near the creek, but he wasn't looking at the cow, which was already vanishing into the dust. He was staring down at the mud-caked bank. "Ma." His voice sounded strange. Lily followed his gaze. At first it looked like a bundle of discarded rags, or a dead coyote. Then the bundle groaned. She stumbled closer, her dress whipping around her ankles. It was a man. His skin was the color of old copper, his black hair matted with blood and mud. He was Apache. A deep gash ran along his temple, and a darker, wetter stain was visible on his buckskin tunic just below his ribs. Eli instinctively grabbed a rock. "Injun," he spat. The word was a curse. "He's probably one of the ones who..." "Who?" Eli asked. "Who killed his pa?" That was the rumor Eli clung to, the one Sheriff Hank Carter had planted. "Renegades," Carter had said, shrugging. "They love to spook cattle." Lily looked at the man. He was unconscious, his breathing shallow. He was dying. She saw the hatred in her son's eyes, a cold adult hatred that scared her more than the storm. Then she looked at the dying man, and she didn't see an Apache. She saw a human being drowning in the dirt. She remembered Elias, a man who would give his last biscuit to a stranger, a man who read the Bible to her at night, even if he didn't always understand the words. "We are not animals, Eli," she said, her voice a command. "Ma, no. They'll kill us. If West's men find him, they'll hang us for harboring him." If the army finds him, they'll burn the ranch. He'll be dead by morning if we leave him. He dies here, we're murderers. He dies in our house. We're fools. I'll take my chances being a fool." She knelt. "Grab his feet. We're taking him to the root cellar." Eli looked from the man to his mother, his face a battle of fear and confusion. With a sob of frustration, he dropped the rock and grabbed the man's ankles. Together, the widow and the boy, battling a wind that seemed determined to kill them, dragged the dying Apache toward the one hidden place they had left. The root cellar was Lily Cross's sanctuary. It was cool, dark, and smelled of earth potatoes and the dried herbs she hung from the ceiling. It was the only place on the ranch that felt solid, the only place the dust storms couldn't fully penetrate. Now it was a prison. They laid the man on a pile of old grain sacks. In the dim light of Lily's lantern, he looked younger than she'd thought, maybe 30. His features were strong, a proud nose and firm jaw, but softened by blood and dirt. Daisy Lily called, her voice sharp as her daughter's small face peeked down the cellar stairs. "Who is he, Ma?" Daisy's voice was a whisper. "Just a traveler. Now lock the kitchen door behind me and don't open it. For anyone." Daisy, used to the strangeness of their precarious life, nodded and vanished. Lily got to work. She sent Eli Boone for the doctoring box, Elias Cross's old whiskey, a needle, and some thread. She boiled water on her small cellar stove, tearing strips from one of her last good petticoats for bandages. "We should just let him die," Eli muttered, watching from the stairs, his arms crossed. "He's brought nothing but trouble." "He didn't bring this trouble, Eli. This trouble was already here. Coal West is the trouble. The drought is the trouble. This man, he's just caught in it." The wound in his side was ugly. It was a bullet hole, and it was festering. He was shot. Lily whispered, her stomach turning. This wasn't a simple accident. She cleaned the wound as best she could. The man never stirred. She poured a foul-smelling Pinkerton's patent poultice on it, a mix of lye and herbs, and bandaged it tightly. She cleaned the gash on his head. There was nothing more she could do. "Now we wait," she said, sitting back on her heels. A bone-deep exhaustion settled over her. They spent the night in the cellar, the storm raging above them like a furious god. Lily dozed in a chair. Eli slumped against the wall, his rifle across his lap. The morning broke, as it always did, with a cruel, bright sun. The storm had passed, leaving the world scoured clean and draped in a fresh layer of dust. "I'll check the livestock," Eli said. It was an excuse to leave the heavy silence of the cellar. Lily climbed the steps into the kitchen. Daisy was asleep at the table, her head on her arms. Lily stroked her hair, a wave of love and fear washing over her. What had she done? A knock at the door made her jump, her heart leaping into her throat. She looked through the peephole and her blood ran cold. It was Rafe Dalton, Coal West's foreman, with 2 other riders. Dalton was a large, brutish man with a sun-scorched face and eyes as dead as a snake's. He was the man who had found Elias. Lily smoothed her apron, took a deep breath, and opened the door. "Morning, Widow Cross." Dalton smiled, not touching his eyes. He leaned against the porch rail, acting as if he owned it. "Quite a blow-through we had. Mr. Dalton, what can I do for you?" "Just checking in on our neighbors, Mr. West. He worries about you, out here, all alone." His gaze raked over her, insulting her with its familiarity. "We're also looking for a few stray head and something else. I haven't seen any of your cattle." "Not cattle." He lowered his voice. "Army patrol from Fort Grant was hit 3 days ago. Apache got away with a 12 rifles." He spat a stream of tobacco juice that landed inches from her boot. "Troopers are scouring the territory. Word is, they winged one. Blood trail, heading this way." Lily's hands were numb. She prayed he couldn't hear her heart pounding. "I haven't seen anyone, Mr. Dalton. Just dust." Dalton's eyes narrowed. They drifted from her face past her shoulder and settled on the thick, open door in the kitchen floor. The root cellar. Smell that? Dalton sniffed. Smells like herbs in here. You cooking something special, widow, my daughter. She has a cough. I'm boiling a poultice. The lie came easier than she'd expected. Dalton stared at the cellar door for a long, agonizing moment. Lily Cross didn't dare breathe. She could feel the man's presence beneath her feet, a secret that weighed as much as the earth above him. Well, Rafe, Dalton said, pushing himself off the rail. You see anything unusual? You got young Eli Boone right over. Mr. West pays well for information. He tipped his hat more an insult than a gesture of courtesy. 30 days. Mrs. Cross, that's what the bank said. 30 days till the foreclosure. Mr. West is a generous man, but business is business. He and his men mounted up and rode away. Lily collapsed against the doorframe, her legs giving way beneath her. She had just bought herself time, but she knew with chilling certainty that Dalton hadn't believed a word she'd said. He was a man who enjoyed a slow hunt. She ran to the cellar door and threw it open. Eli was there, his rifle aimed at the stairs, his face pale. The Apache was awake. His eyes black and piercing were open. He was watching her. The silence in the cellar was absolute. The man's eyes held no fear, only a deep, unnerving watchfulness. He didn't look at Eli's rifle. He looked at Lily. Water, he rasped the single word, a shock. Lily nodded, her paralysis breaking. She fetched a ladle of water from the barrel. She had to hold his head for him to drink. He speaks English. Eli said, his voice a mix of awe and suspicion. He didn't lower the rifle. Be quiet, Eli. For 3 days this became their new reality. Lily tended to his wounds, bringing him thin broth and water. Daisy, overcoming her initial fear, began to visit. She would sit on the bottom stair, just out of reach, and talk to him. She named him Ash because, as she explained, he's here but he's not, like a shadow on the wall. The man Ash never spoke again. He just watched his face, a stoic mask. His fever rose and Lily feared he would die. On the 3rd night, as she bathed his head with a cool cloth, he began to mutter, not in English, but in a rapid flowing tongue she didn't understand. Eli stood guard at the cellar entrance. Let him die, Ma. It's God's will. God's will is what we do, Eli, not what we let happen. On the 4th morning, the fever broke. Lily came down to find him sitting up, his back against the potato sacks. He had unwrapped the bandage on his side and was inspecting her stitching. You have a healer's hand, he said. His voice was no longer a rasp, but a low, clear baritone. Lily nearly dropped the tray. You've been listening. I have been, he said. Your daughter Daisy believes her doll. Martha is sick with the pox. Your son Eli hates me because he believes my people killed his father. And you? You are a woman, trying to hold back the ocean with a broom. Eli scrambled down the stairs. Who are you? The man looked at Eli, and for the first time his expression changed. It wasn't pity. It was assessment. My name is Ash, and your people did not kill my people. Your people are trying to kill my people. The army. Dalton said you attacked a patrol. Ash let out a dry, humorless laugh. Rafe Dalton. He's a liar, but he is a good liar. What happened? Lily asked, sitting on an overturned bucket. There was no army patrol. Ash said, his voice flat. There was a wagon. A freaked wagon. Dalton and his men, the ones who ride for West, they hid it. It was carrying rifles for the army. The implication settled over the room, cold and heavy. Dalton stole them, Lily whispered. He stole them, and he was not gentle. My brother Tarza and I, we were hunting. We saw. We were not the renegades. We were the witnesses. They shot you. Eli said, the pieces clicking into place. They shot Tarza. First, Ash said. And for a fleeting second, his mask cracked. A profound, terrible grief passed over his features. He died. They shot me. I fell into the river. I floated. For a day I crawled. Then your storm found me. He looked at his bandaged side. Dalton's bullet. He looked at Lily Cross. You've hidden the man Dalton wants dead most of all. A cold, suffocating fear gripped Lily. She hadn't just saved a man. She'd invited a war into her cellar. You have to leave, Eli. Boone said, his voice shaking. We helped you. Now you have to go, before Dalton comes back. And where do I go, boy? Ash asked, his voice rough, filled with pain. I am one man. Dalton has 20. West has 100, and I'm still too weak to walk. That's not our problem, Eli muttered, clenching his fists. It became your problem. Ash said, his voice hardening as he looked at the cellar door. He knows. He tasted the lie in your mother's mouth. He's not coming back to ask. He's coming back to take. Ash shifted, grabbing a rusted piece of farm equipment for support, pulling himself to his feet, wincing as the movement tugged at his stitches. He was taller than Eli, and his aura of contained power was terrifying. He limped to the small, dirt-caked window at the top of the cellar wall, just at ground level. He peered through. He was silent for a long time. Your water is low, he said. It's the drought. Lily said, her voice strained. No, Ash said. It's not the drought. He pointed upstream toward the willow trees. I saw it when I was crawling. There's a dam. New wood. Fresh cuts. A beaver dam, Eli asked, puzzled. A West dam, Ash replied. He's not just waiting for the bank to take your land. He's taking it. He's choking your creek. He's killing your ranch one drop at a time. And when you're starving, you'll have no choice but to sell. For nothing. Eli's face went white, then red. He'd been so focused on the army threat, so blinded by the lie about his father's death, that he had missed the real enemy, the one who walked right up to his front porch. Ash looked at Eli, his black eyes seeming to see into the boy's very soul. You want to be the man of this house, boy. You want to protect your mother. You're fighting the wrong enemy. The revelation of the dam changed everything. The tension that had defined the ranch, the fear of Ash, the anger of Eli, the desperation of Lily, focused like sunlight through a magnifying glass into a single burning point. He's right. Ma, Eli said, his voice low. I've seen Dalton's men up by the willows. I thought they were just running our cattle off. They were, Ash said from the cellar steps, a blanket wrapped around his shoulders. He had refused to stay underground any longer. They were running them from the water. An unspoken, fragile alliance formed in the dusty kitchen. Ash, once the patient, was now the strategist. He was weak, but his mind was razor sharp. We cannot fight West. We cannot fight Dalton. Not with this, he gestured at Eli's rifle. They have power. We must have knowledge. For the next week, a strange school convened at the Dry Spur Ranch. Ash's side healing began to teach. He was a hard master. He taught Eli not just to shoot, but where to shoot, and more importantly, when not to. He took Eli out at dusk. You walk like a white man, he'd said, like you're angry at the ground. He showed him how to move, placing his feet to make no sound. He showed him how to read the land, a broken twig, a pebble overturned the direction of the wind. Eli, who had resisted Ash's presence with every fiber of his being, became a star pupil. He was a sponge, soaking in the ancient knowledge. He was, Ash realized, a boy, desperate to be a man, who had simply never been shown how. Lily watched her heart, a confusing mix of gratitude and terror. Her son was changing, the sullen anger replaced by quiet, focused competence. He was becoming a man, yes, but he was becoming a warrior. And warriors, in her experience, had a habit of dying. Meanwhile, Daisy had fully adopted Ash. She brought him flowers from the dry garden. She showed him her treasures, a smooth rock, a bird's feather, a button. Ash in turn showed her things. He carved her a small, perfect wooden bird with Elias Cross's old whittling knife. He taught her the names of the stars in his own language. He was weaving himself into their family, into the very fabric of their survival. The bond was tested when Sheriff Hank Carter returned. He rode up alone, his horse sweating. "Mrs. Cross," he said, tipping his hat in a sign of disrespect. "It's just a courtesy," Rafe Dalton said, his voice cold as stone. "Cole West has filed the final foreclosure paperwork. The 30 days are up next week. I'll be here, Tuesday at noon, to serve the eviction. I'd advise you to be packed," he added, tipping his hat with that same arrogant sneer. Ash Eli Boone and Daisy Boone were inside, silent as ghosts. Ash had insisted. He must see only the widow, the weak widow. Sheriff Lily Cross said, her voice shaking, but not with fear, with rage. "Mr. West is illegally damming my creek." Hank Carter sighed, as if burdened by the weight of his own choices. "Ma'am, that's a civil matter. And besides, I've seen the creek. It's dry everywhere. It's a drought. It's murder." Lily shot back, her voice cutting through the air like a whip. "That's strong language," Mrs. Cross Hank warned. "You start using language like that, Mr. West might be forced to defend his good name. You wouldn't want that." The threat hung in the air, heavy and foreboding. "Tuesday noon," Hank said, turning his horse and riding away. That night no one spoke. The eviction was a death sentence. They had 1 week. Ash stood at the window staring out at the moonlit yard. "There's one way," he said, his voice low and thoughtful. What Lily asked, her eyes on him. "Dalton. He's the weak link. He's greedy. He's arrogant. And he's got a secret." "The stolen rifles," Eli said, his voice tense. "He won't have kept them." Ash replied, his tone sharp. "Too dangerous. He'll have sold them to the highest bidder. Probably back to the army through a friend or to other renegades. But Dalton will have kept the money. Men like him, they love money. They love to look at it." "What are you saying?" Eli asked, his eyes wide with realization. "I'm saying," Ash said, his voice cold, "we cannot save this ranch. The white man's law says you've lost." He turned to face them, his dark eyes intense. "So we must use a different law. We must make it impossible for West to stay. We must give him a new problem." "How?" Lily demanded. "Dalton trusts his boss West, but he doesn't trust West's other men. He's a thief who expects to be stolen from. The money from those rifles. He won't have hidden it at the Cross Sea. He'll have hidden it somewhere private. Somewhere he thinks is safe." "The line cabin," Eli whispered. "Up by Black Rock. I've seen him ride out there," Eli continued. "He told me he was checking fences, but there ain't no fences out there." Ash nodded, a slow, dangerous smile touching his lips for the first time. "Then we'll go to the line cabin. We'll take his money, and we'll use it." "Use it how?" Lily asked, horrified. "To pay the mortgage," Ash said, shaking his head. "No. The bank won't take blood money, and it's not enough. But if that money and Dalton were delivered to the right people, not Sheriff Carter, but perhaps a U.S. Marshal." "You're talking about stealing," Lily whispered. "He stole my brother's life." Ash said, his voice low and cold as the desert wind. "He's stealing your home. He stole your husband's cattle." He paused, and a strange look passed over his face, as if he knew a secret he wasn't yet ready to share. "We're not stealing, Mrs. Cross. We're balancing the scales." The plan was simple and therefore doomed, Lily thought. "Eli and I will go," Ash announced, his voice firm. "Tonight. The moon is dark." "No," Lily said, shaking her head. "It's too dangerous, and you're not healed." "I'm healed enough," Ash said, nodding at Eli. "And he added, is ready. I'm not letting my son go play act as a burglar. He'll be killed. He will be killed if he stays." Ash said, his voice quiet but final. "He'll be starved, or he'll be shot by Dalton for trespassing. At least this way, he dies fighting." Eli looked at his mother, his face hardening. "I have to, Ma. It's the only way. Ash is right." Lily looked at her son, at the set of his jaw, the rifle in his hand, the way he stood tall. She knew he was ready. Not like a boy, but like a man. Lily Cross hated Ash for it, and she loved him for it. She packed them biscuits and jerky, her hands shaking. "If you're not back by dawn, we will be," Ash said. They vanished into the night. Lily sat in her kitchen, the Bible open on her lap, but the words didn't seem to matter anymore. Daisy Boone slept blissfully unaware. The hours ticked by. 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 4 a.m. The line cabin at Black Rock was, as Eli Boone had said, isolated. It was a one-room shack with a small corral. 2 horses were tied outside. 2 men. Ash whispered, "Guards. Dalton isn't a fool. How do we—" "We don't," Ash said. "We let the mountain do it." He pointed to a pile of loose shale rock above the cabin. Using the skills Ash had taught him, Eli moved up the ridge. Ash, meanwhile, slipped toward the corral. Eli waited, heart pounding. Then with a heavy stick he shoved the largest boulder down the ridge. The rock slide was a cacophony of noise. It wasn't large, but it was loud. "What in the hell?" a man shouted from the cabin. A second later, the 2 horses, their tethers sliced by Ash's knife, went screaming past the cabin door, spooked by the rocks. "The horses, they're running!" One of the guards yelled. The 2 guards, half-dressed, burst from the cabin and took off running after their mounts. "Get him, you idiot!" Ash growled. Eli and Ash slipped inside the cabin. It was sparse, just a stove, 2 cots. Ash went straight to the floorboards. Here he pointed a fresh nail. Eli used his knife to pry up the board. Underneath was a small military-issue ammunition box. Eli laid it on the table. It was heavy. He opened it. It wasn't just money. There were stacks of greenbacks, gold double eagles, and a small leather-bound book. Eli picked up the book and opened it. The handwriting was neat, precise. June 4th, met with the Apache. Ash, fair trade. He's an honorable man. He warns of West's greed. Eli's blood turned to ice. He flipped to the last page. August 12th, meeting. Dalton at the canyon. He says he wants to buy the pelts. Pay me what West knows. Something feels wrong. I am bringing my journal, if anything. Mars locket, Eli whispered. A memory surfaced. She clutches it. Elias Cross's locket. Ash was already at the door. We have what we came for. Let's go. They were halfway back to the ranch, the ammo box heavy between them, when the first shot rang out. Why, Eli shouted. The bullet kicked up dirt by Eli's feet. They found the box gone. Ash grunted. Run. They weren't guards. They were Dalton's partners, and they'd been tricked. Another shot. Eli felt a searing heat past his ear. Ash spun, raised his rifle, and fired into the darkness. A single shot. There was a scream, then a heavy thud. Ash. He was visible on the ridge against the stars. A mistake. Ash grabbed Eli. Move! They ran. They didn't stop until they saw the outline of the Dry Spur barn. Lily threw the door open. Eli. Oh, thank God. Ash stumbled in, clutching his side. His old wound. He had torn it open. He's bleeding, Lily cried. It's nothing. Ash gasped, sliding down the wall. He pushed the ammo box toward her. The scales. Eli wasn't looking at the box. He was looking at his mother. His face was ghostly white. It wasn't a stampede. Lily's hand went to the locket at her throat. What, Eli? What is that? It's Pa's. Eli choked out. It's Pa's journal. Dalton. Dalton murdered him. He murdered him for the pelts. And Ash. Ash knew him. Elias Cross. Elias knew Ash. The revelation hung in the air, thick and suffocating. Lily Cross stared at the journal in Eli Boone's hand, then at Ash, who grimaced in pain as he pressed a rag to his bleeding side. You knew, Lily whispered, her voice trembling. You knew. You knew Elias. Ash looked up, his face etched with pain and something deeper, regret. I saw the locket. When you were mending my shirt, he continued, the one you were, I saw it before, where Lily demanded, her hands clenching. On him, Ash said. On Elias. The day he died. The kitchen, which had always felt like a refuge, suddenly felt like a cage. Eli Boone, his face streaked with sweat and tears, slumped into a chair. It's all in there, Ma. He traded with Ash's people. He helped them. He wasn't just a rancher. He was their friend. Lily snatched the journal, her hands shaking as she read the last entry. August 12th meeting, Dalton at the canyon. Something feels wrong, she breathed. The stampede. There was no stampede, Ash said, his voice low. My brother and I, we were supposed to meet Elias to trade. We saw the smoke. We found the wagon burned. We found Elias. He was shot in the back. Dalton. Eli spat. We tracked them. Dalton and another man, Ash continued. They drove Elias's own cattle over the... Ash stopped, his throat tightening. They made the stampede to cover the tracks, to cover the murder. I took the locket from Elias to return to his people. But I did not know who you were. Not until I was in your cellar. And I saw it on your neck. I didn't know how to tell you. So my whole life... Eli said, his voice hollow. My hating. It was all for nothing. I hated your people. For what Dalton did, Ash said. Dalton is a man of many shadows. He uses your hate. It is his best weapon. Lily closed the journal. The grief for Elias, which she had kept neatly packed away, now tore through her, fresh, raw, and wild. It wasn't a random act of God. It wasn't a tragic accident. It was murder. Greed. It was Rafe Dalton. The entire foreclosure was a lie. It wasn't just business. It was Dalton and, by extension, Cole West finishing the job. They were stealing the ranch from the widow of the man they had already murdered. A cold, hard fury, like nothing Lily had ever known, settled into her bones. She was done crying. She was done being a victim. She went to Ash and knelt beside him. Let me see your side, she said, her voice low but firm. She packed the wound, her movements no longer tender, but efficient, angry. Your Tuesday eviction, Ash said, wincing. It's not just an eviction. Dalton can't risk you finding this. He tapped the journal. He will not let you leave this valley alive. Then we won't, Lily said. Eli and Ash stared at her. The mousy widow was gone. In her place stood someone they didn't recognize. Ma, Eli whispered. Lily slapped the ammo box. This money, she said, and this, she held up the journal. This is the knowledge. Ash was right, but we're not going to a marshal. What, Eli said, confused. But the nearest marshal is Alistair Reed in Prescott. That's a 3-day ride. We don't have 3 days. We have until Tuesday. And Hank Carter. Carter is West's dog, Eli said. So what do we do? We can't fight West's army, Lily said. But we don't have to, she continued. We just have to fight Dalton. And Dalton just lost his partners, Ash said. I killed one. And the other, Eli added. He ran. He'll be halfway to Mexico. Dalton is alone. He's exposed. He's also furious, Ash warned. He knows we have his money. He knows we have the journal. He'll come here. Lily Cross's eyes flashed with a strange, cunning light. He will come, but he won't come like he thinks he will. She stepped forward, her voice steady now, cutting through the tension. He can't tell Stone. He can't say, Mr. Stone, sir, the widow I murdered, a man for just stole the money I took from a federal wagon. Dalton is caught in his own trap. She began to pace, her boots scraping against the floor. He will come, but he will come quietly. He doesn't want to alert Stone. He wants his box. He wants his journal. He thinks he's coming to kill a widow, a boy, and a wounded Apache. We are, Eli Boone said. That's what we are. No, Lily said, picking up Elias Cross's rifle. He's coming to our home. He's coming into our trap. She looked at Ash. The rifles, the ones Dalton stole. You said he sold them. Are you sure? Ash thought for a moment. Most. But a man like Dalton, he would keep a souvenir. A sample of his success. The line cabin, Eli said. There was a lock, a closet. We didn't have time. He won't be there, Lily said. He'll be here or on his way here, which means that cabin is empty. Mal, what are you? Eli, Lily said, cutting him off. You are going back. You're going to get those rifles. I'll go, Ash said, trying to stand. No, Lily snapped. You will stay here. You will teach me how to use this. She held up the ammo box. You will teach me how to balance the scales. The plan that formed wasn't one of justice. It was one of survival. It was ugly. It was desperate. And it was all they had the day before the eviction. Monday. The air was still heavy with unspoken dread. Eli Boone had returned. His face was grim. His saddlebags heavy. He hadn't just found rifles. He found dynamite, Lily said, her voice shaking. Army issue, Eli added, eyes wide. For clearing rocks. Dalton must have taken it from the freight wagon too. Lily's plan, already desperate now, became something else entirely. It became final. Ash was weak, feverish from his reopened wound. He sat at the kitchen table, a ghost of himself. But his mind was sharp. He was their general. He will not come from the road, Ash instructed. He is a snake. He will come from the creek bed. He will expect Eli to be in the barn, you in the house, Ash continued. He will try to separate you. Good, Lily said, her voice flat. Let him. They spent the day preparing. Lily baked bread, the smell a grotesque mockery of happier times. But inside the loaves, she packed bullets. She made 3 packages wrapped in oilcloth. Eli, under Ash's instruction, was not building a fence. He was building a stage. He took 2 of the stolen rifles and the dynamite. He went to the canyon, the one where his father died. He spent hours. Daisy, the only one who didn't understand, was their secret weapon. Daisy. Lily said, kneeling to look her daughter in the eyes. I need you to play a game. I need you to go to the old treehouse. And I need you to stay there, no matter what you hear. You don't come out. Not until Ash, not until Shadow comes for you. Can you do that for me? Daisy, sensing the terror, nodded, clutching her wooden bird. Is Mr. Dalton coming? Yes, honey, he is. I don't like him. I don't. Neither do I, Lily said. She kissed her. Go now. Daisy slipped out the back. Ash's face pale, dragged himself to the suit cellar. I will be the surprise. He took a rifle and a pistol. Lily and Eli were alone in the kitchen. I'm scared, Ma, Eli whispered. Good, Lily said, loading Elias Cross's rifle. So am I. It means we're alive. Dusk. The cicadas stopped. A dead, heavy silence. And then a sound. A single horse. Not Dalton's usual thunder, but a quiet, careful walk. Lily Cross and Eli Boone took their positions. Lily stood in the kitchen window, eyes sharp, watching the yard. Eli was hidden in the hayloft above. Rafe Dalton rode into the yard. He was alone. This was just as Lily had predicted, personal. He sat tall on his horse, a dark silhouette against the dying light of the evening. Widow, he called out, his voice casual. I know you're in there. And your boy. And my friend. No answer. You've got something of mine, he continued. 2 things, in fact. One's a box, the other's a book. I'd like them back. Lily stepped out onto the porch, the weight of the moment pressing down on her. Eli, still in the loft, held his breath. You murderer, Lily said. Her voice didn't shake, but it cut through the air like a blade. Dalton smiled. So you read it? Good. Saves time. He paused, then gestured toward the house. I was sloppy. Left a witness. And him. He added, his eyes narrowing. The Apache. Where is he? Dead, Lily lied. His wound. He died this morning. Dalton's face showed disappointment. Shame. I wanted to do that myself. He swung down from his horse, his own rifle in hand, one of his stolen ones. So the box. The book. Give them to me and I'll make it quick for you and the boy. They're not here, Lily said, her voice steady. Dalton's smile faded. Don't play games with me, widow. They're at the land office in Prescott, she said, her voice cool and unyielding. This was Ash's lie. I sent Eli. He left yesterday. He's delivering them to Marshal Reed along with my sworn testimony. Dalton's face went white, then purple. He had been outmaneuvered. You bitch, he spat. You're lying. Am I? Lily said. The journal is gone. The money is gone. It's over. Dalton raised his rifle. Then you've got nothing left to live for. No. Lily said, her voice low and calm, but you do. This was the signal. From the hayloft, Eli fired. Not at Dalton. He fired at the lantern hanging on Dalton's horse. The oil exploded, and the horse screamed, bolting into the night. Dalton was on foot, trapped. He fired at Lily, the bullet missing her by inches. You hear me, Dalton roared, running for the cover of the trough. Lily yelled. Now Eli didn't fire again. He scrambled down from the loft. Dalton was pinned. He's at the trough, Eli yelled. Good. Stay there. Dalton, confused, peeked over the trough. He saw Lily running, not toward the barn, but away from the house, heading toward the creek. Wrong way, Widow Dalton stood laughing. He raised his rifle. Crack! A shot rang out from the cellar. The bullet kicked up dirt at Dalton's feet. Ash Dalton cursed, diving back behind the trough. He was pinned between the house Ash and the barn where he thought Eli was. This was it. Lily said, her voice calm as she lit a match. Get to the ridge. Eli didn't hesitate. He ran. Lily lit the fuse on the first stick of dynamite. She'd packed it in one of her bread bundles. Dalton saw her. What in the heat? He started to move, but it was too late. She threw it. It landed in the dry grass 10 feet from the trough. Dalton, realizing what it was, scrambled. The explosion was deafening. It didn't hurt Dalton, but it didn't have to. It was a signal. 2 miles away at the canyon, Eli heard it. He lit his own fuse. Dalton got to his feet, his ears ringing. He saw Lily 100 yards away running. He started after her. You can't run, Widow Boom. A second, much larger explosion echoed from the canyon. Dalton stopped. What was boom? Boom. 2 more. The ground trembled beneath them. Rafe Dalton looked up. He wasn't a fool. He knew exactly what was happening. The dam, he whispered. Eli Boone had used the rifles and the dynamite. He hadn't just broken the dam. He had obliterated it. A low growing roar filled the air. Lily Cross stood on the ridge, panting. Dalton looked at her, then turned his gaze toward the canyon, his eyes following the dry creek bed that ran just 20 feet from his trough. The water. It wasn't a trickle. It was a wall. 6 months of stolen, dammed up water, released in a single furious instant. It hit the creek bed like a freight train. Dalton tried to run, but the wall of water, mud, and debris slammed into the trough. The trough vanished. Dalton disappeared. Her water roared past the house, past the barn, and flooded the yard before finding its old rightful path. Silence. Then from the cellar, a cough. Lily ran. Eli ran. They met at the cellar door. Ash was slumped over, his pistol empty. Did it work? Eli asked, his voice tight. It worked, Lily said, tears streaming down her face, washing away the dust of a battle fought and won. They pulled him into the yard, now a sea of mud. Look, Eli said, pointing. The water was already receding, but in the middle of the yard, tangled in the ruins of the trough, was a body. Rafe Dalton. It was over. The dawn of Tuesday eviction day broke over a changed world. The Dry Spur Ranch was a muddy, debris-strewn mess, but Coyote Creek was flowing again. Lily, Eli, and Ash, now safely in Elias Cross's bed, were in a state of shock. They had won. They had killed. What? What do we do? Eli asked, staring at Dalton's body. We tell the truth, Lily said, or most of it. They'll hang us. Eli said, his voice thick with fear. They won't. Ash said from the bedroom, his voice weak. Dalton was a known thief. You were a widow defending your home. But the dynamite, Lily said, the dynamite was his. The water was God's. It was an accident. The sound of horses, not one, but several, cut through the silence. Lily's heart stopped. Had Dalton not been alone, Eli grabbed his rifle. No, Lily said. We're done. She walked to the porch. Riding into her yard were 4 men. They were not Cross Sea riders. They wore clean dark suits. They were led by a tall man with a silver badge. Ma'am, the man said, tipping his hat. U.S. Marshal Alistair Reed from Prescott. I got a strange telegraph 2 days ago from a Mrs. Jenkins. Something about an inheritance. Lily stared. She had forgotten. In her plan, she had forgotten the one part that was actually true. You came, she whispered. It was coded, Reed said. My office uses it. Elias Cross's journal. Wells Fargo. Dalton, Lily said, her voice trailing off. You seem to have had a busy few days, ma'am. He dismounted and looked around at the flowing creek in the body. That he said, pointing to Dalton. Rafe Dalton. He came last night, Lily said, the lie they had practiced. He tried to... He set a fire. The explosion. It broke the dam. He drowned. Marshal Reed looked at her. His sharp eyes scanned the bullet holes in her porch, the dynamite-scorched earth, and the journal Lily was holding. I see, he said. He walked over to Dalton's body. Tucked into Dalton's belt was the empty ammo box. Dalton, in his arrogance, had brought it with him, perhaps to show her what he was taking back. This is Wells Fargo property, Reed said, picking it up. Stolen 3 weeks ago. He looked at Lily. And this is Elias Cross's journal. He took it from her and read the last page. His face hardened. Cole West, he said. He's been a problem for a long time. He's foreclosing. Eli said, stepping onto the porch. Today at noon, Lily said, but Reed shook his head. I think not, Marshal Reed said. He looked at the sun, which was already high in the sky. In fact, I'd say he's late. 2 more riders appeared as if summoned by fate. Hank Carter and Cole West himself. West looked relaxed, almost like he was coming to watch the eviction unfold. His smile vanished the moment he saw Marshal Reed. Alistair Stone, he said, his voice oily with false sweetness. What a surprise. What brings a federal marshal out to this murder? Reed held up the journal and the stolen goods. This journal, Mr. West, it paints a very ugly picture. About you. About your man, Rafe Dalton. Dalton West scoffed. He's unreliable. He's dead, Reed said, pointing to the body. And this box found with him is a federal matter. Hank Carter's face went ashen. Now, Alistair, shut up. Brody, shut up. Reed said, his voice hard. As of this moment, your authority in this valley is under review. Mr. West, I will be reviewing your books, your land acquisitions, and your business, starting with your connection to the murder of Elias Cross. West, the patient vulture, saw the game was up. He couldn't be tied to this, not to federal robbery, not to murder. Dalton West said, his voice cold. He was a rogue agent. I had no idea. This is terrible. Widow West muttered, his tone now dripping with forced politeness. My apologies. He turned his horse ready to ride away. Mr. West, Reed called out. I think you'll find your foreclosure on Mrs. Cross null and void. Given the new evidence, I'd consider her mortgage paid in full as compensation for your rogue employee. It was a bluff, but a good one. Wes stared at Reed, then at Lily. He knew he'd been beaten. He nodded once grimly and rode away. Brody, stammering, followed behind him. Marshal Reed watched them go. He turned back to Lily. "Ma'am, my deputies will handle Dalton. You have a story. I suggest you write it down. Emphasize the accident part. I have a feeling the federal court will be sympathetic," he said, tipping his hat. "You have a fine ranch, Mrs. Cross. That creek, it's strong." He and his men took Dalton and left. The following week, the Dry Spur Ranch was quiet. Cole West, facing a federal investigation, had bigger problems than one widow. His empire built on intimidation and lies was starting to crumble. Sheriff Brody was gone, run out of town by Reed. The ranch was safe. Inside the small house, Ash was healing. Properly this time, Lily's broth and the knowledge of his brother's justice were a powerful medicine. The day came. Ash was strong enough to ride. His horse, which had been hiding in a far pasture, had returned for him. He stood on the porch wearing a new buckskin shirt, alliances mended with a strength in his back. "You can't go," Daisy Boone said, her lip trembling. Ash knelt. He placed his carved wooden bird in her hand. "A bird is not meant for a cage, little one. It must fly. So must I." He stood and faced Eli Boone. Eli was no longer a boy. He was quiet. He was a man. Ash placed his hand on Eli's shoulder. "You are the man of this house, Eli Boone. Protect this land. It is your land, bought with blood." He pressed an eagle feather into Eli's hand. Finally, Ash looked at Lily. No words were needed. They had been through hell and back. He was the man who had, in saving his own life, saved hers. She was the woman who had, in saving his, saved her family. "Elias Cross," she whispered. "Thank you for the truth." "He was a good man," Ash said. "He has a good wife, a strong wife." Ash mounted his horse. He looked at the flowing creek, at the green that was already starting to return to its banks. "Your Dry Spur," he said, a rare small smile pulling at his lips. "It's not dry anymore." He turned his horse, and without looking back, he rode east toward the rising sun. Lily, Eli, and Daisy stood on the porch. They watched until he was just a shadow that had for a brief, terrible moment fallen over their lives only to reveal the light. They were not rich. They were not powerful. But the ranch was theirs. The water was theirs. And for the first time since Elias Cross had died, they were free. Their lives, once destined to be a forgotten footnote in the dust, had been changed forever. The story of Lily Cross and Ash reminds us that sometimes the greatest courage isn't found in a gunfight, but in a simple act of compassion. It's a reminder that our greatest allies can come from the most unexpected places, and that even in the face of overwhelming power, truth and resilience can in the end win the day. If this story of grit, drama, and unexpected justice moved you, please help us tell more. Like this video to show your support, share it with someone else who loves a powerful Western, and subscribe to our channel. For more tales of the untamed frontier, let us know in the comments what part of Lily's and Ash's story will stay with you the most. See you in the next story. All stories are created for entertainment purposes and may include fictional elements or dramatized interpretations inspired by historical settings. We use AI tools, voiceover visuals, scripts as creative assistants. However, all content is reviewed, refined, and edited by humans to ensure emotional authenticity and storytelling quality. We fully comply with YouTube's policies regarding AI-generated content and do not use any deepfake techniques or misleading recreations of real individuals. All visuals and supporting materials are properly licensed. Sharing, re-uploading, modifying, or distributing any part of this content in any form requires written permission. We appreciate your support and respect for original, creative work.